So tonight's guest speaker, without further ado, Tony Marti. At the age of 5, when asked by an adult, what do you want to do when you grow up? He replied, I want to be a singer and I want to be famous. But when you are born and you grow up in a small village town in Calabria, you don't get that opportunity all that easy. Although Tony started singing and won his first talent quest in his hometown at the age of 7, things didn't really take off until the age of 16 when Tony immigrated to Australia to join his family and his relatives. Passion and love for what you do is undoubtedly the key to anyone's success, says Tony. His passion, Tony's passion, he also has fun writing songs. And one of the many songs that Tony has written actually made him famous not only in Australia, but in Canada and the USA and other countries as well. The song, of course, is entitled in Inglese, Coming to Australia, also known in Italiano as Vi che bella l'Australia. So sort of a funny send-up about how Italians live and behave in this country. And as Tony says, they have double-story houses, they have the tomatoes in the backyard, the concreted front yards and patios, the tiled garage, and the lounge room that no one is allowed to go into until the Pope finally visits. Brilliant. Anyway, so without further ado, Tony Marti, thank you very much for coming. We're so lucky to have you. Great to meet you.
Grazie, thank you very much. Buonasera, benvenuti. Before I start, I would like to sincerely thank the Italian Family History Group for inviting me to speak here tonight. Italian heritage, Italian culture, and Italian traditions are things that I hold close to my heart, and it is an honor for me to having been asked to share my story with all of you. My name is Antonio Di Marti, but here in Australia they call me Tony, just a little shorter. I was born in a little town in Calabria called Casignana, situated on the hills, only 300 meters above the sea level, the Ionian sea level, and 88 kilometers north of the main city, Reggio Calabria. I am the youngest of 4 boys in the family, no girls, unfortunately, for mum. Sorry. Both my parents were born and bred in the same town, in Casignana. My father, Rocco Di Marti, was one of 3 brothers, so boys in his family as well. I was named after one of my uncles, Antonio, but I believe I inherited the artistic skills of my other uncle, Francesco Di Marti, who was a very popular poet in town. In fact, back then, you see, many people were curiously given a nickname, often relating to something they did or something they resembled. In dialect, it's called Langiuria. I'm sure you know a lot of people back there. You know, if you went to a little hometown and you asked for Signora Maria, nobody knew her. But if you said Signora Maria Nasolongo, everybody knew who she was. So, in his little town, my uncle Francesco was known as U Poeta. So, if you asked for Francesco Di Marti, Francesco Di Marti, U Poeta, yeah, U Poeta. My mother, Natalina Pulitano, was the eldest of 6 children, 3 girls and 3 boys. Her mother, my nonna Mariangela, migrated to Australia in 1955. Together with my uncles Filippo and Rocco and my aunties Maria and Antonietta. My mum's father, Giovanni Politano, passed away at the very young age of only 33 years of age due to a very small sickness which today would have been cured within 5 minutes. Back then, the nearest hospital was about 3 days of walking away from town, and by the time they got to the hospital, he passed away. I grew up in my small town of Casignana until the age of 16, like Art said before. In December 1980, we were finally given the opportunity to join our extended family and relatives here in Sydney. Excuse me. I say finally because it took us a very long time to obtain the visas to migrate to Australia, and I'll tell you about that in a minute. My father had already been to Australia in 1967 on his own for a short time. Like many other thousands of migrants, he joined the mass migration and came aboard the Achille Lauro. Back then, I'm sure you'll remember the float. Lloyd Triestino, etc., etc. But he only ended up staying in Australia 10 months, all in all. And he lived just up here, up the road, number 54 Norton Street, Leichhardt. Yes, wish we owned that house today. My father, however, did not like Australia. Unlike many other people, he couldn't get used to the Anglo-Saxon way of life. He didn't want to learn English and decided to return to Italy, much to my mother's displeasure, mind you, who was hoping instead to join him and her own family here in Sydney, since everyone on my mother's side was already here. I remember when my father returned home from Australia, returned to Calabria, he brought me a big box full of chocolates and lollies. And I was the happiest kid in Calabria back then, let me tell you. I was only 4 years old, and I remember thinking, wow, Australia must be the paradise of chocolates and lollies. One day I'm going to go there and eat all the chocolates and lollies I can find. But often when my father spoke about Australia, I used to hear him refer to Australia as La terra dei condannati. Yes, the land of convicts. That's how much he didn't like it. That's how much he didn't like it. At that time, I wasn't quite sure what he meant. All I could think of was the lollies and the chocolates. I didn't really, I knew nothing about Australia back then anyway, and little did I know that I would actually come and live here one day. But although my father had no interest in moving the family here, my mother, on the other hand, had a keen interest to join her family and her brothers and her sisters and her mum. And also my oldest brother, Giuseppe, who came out with my father at the age of 14 back in 1967. And when my father decided to return to Italy, my brother put his feet firmly on the ground and said, I'm not going back to Calabria, Dad, thank you, I'll stay here, and remained with one of my uncles. As I was telling you earlier, getting the visas for the whole family wasn't easy back then. Against my father's will, my mother, I remember, would go to the travel agent, make an application to migrate. They would then call us for a medical checkup. We used to go to Messina, the nearest medical checkup for migration. And then the application would get lost in the beautiful bureaucracy of Italy. Somewhere on someone's desk at the Australian Embassy in Rome, it would just sit there and collect some dust. This happened, I'm not kidding you, about 20 times. Yes, every time we went to Messina, we knew exactly how to get there, which way to turn, and the doctor knew everything about me, I think, from head to toes. It wasn't until August 1980 when one of my uncles on mum's side, Uncle Rocco, came back to Italy for a holiday. And of course, he was wondering what had been taking us so long to get the visas and migrate to Australia. My mum explained. And my Uncle Rocco, being a very worldly man, on his way back to Australia, he stopped in Rome and went to the Australian Embassy. There he was able to find a very nice Italian employee who all of a sudden became very helpful once he received a little envelope with a gift in it. It was a little undisclosed amount of cash in Australian dollars from my uncle, and very, very quickly made sure that the application was approved and we would get our visas. Yes. And that's exactly what happened. Within 2 weeks, we got the visas. We got the passports, and we got the green light to go to Australia. Much to my father's displeasure, I got to say. He was hoping that we would never get it. On the 23rd of December 1980, we boarded the aeroplane at Reggio Calabria on the way to Rome. I remember we left Reggio Calabria on a cold and rainy day in December, of course, 23rd of December. When we landed in Sydney, though, it was quite the opposite. Christmas Eve and 40 degrees. I thought we had landed in the Sahara Desert there for a moment. But I tell you, being met at the airport by all the relatives, all the uncles, it was just beautiful, amazing. I never knew I had so many cousins in Australia. It was extensive. My uncles were full of joy and happiness. My brother, my nonna, everyone, but especially my uncles, they were also full of advice for me. As soon as I got here, they said, sit down, we got to talk to you. Now you're going to get a job. You're going to work hard, you're going to buy a house. After that house, you're going to buy another one. And don't buy a new car, because there's no need for a new car. Just buy a second-hand one, small, economic, and save your money. Don't go out with girls, save your money. All of a sudden, I felt this sudden urge to go back to Italy. Thought, is that what my life is going to be in Australia? Save money, yes, we did. All together as a family, we started working. I tell you, I got my first job 2 days after I arrived in Australia. Not kidding you. 2 days after, around about the 27th of December, I got my first job. And the shop is still there, mind you. It's Blue Star Cakes at Des Moines. That was my first job, yes. And I had to catch 2 buses to get there from Kogarah, where we lived with my auntie for 3 months. So my uncle came along with me on the first day and taught me how to actually buy a ticket, because I couldn't speak a word of English. So we got on the bus. He said, Tony, you get 25 cents, you give it to the driver, and you say, half ticket to Des Moines. On the way back, you say, half ticket to Rockdale. And so I did. Until one day I got one of those really Australian redneck type of bus drivers, you know, with the glasses sitting here on his nose. I jumped on the bus like a little wog, you know, and I said, half ticket to Rockdale. He looked me up and down and he said in a very heavy Australian tone, how old are you, son? And I got scared just at the tone of his voice. I said, oh, sorry, me no understand. And he started saying to me, oh, you little dago, you're just trying to get away with paying half of the fare. You have to pay a full fare because you look old enough to me. I didn't understand what he said, but I understood that he was almost sort of swearing at me. So I sort of swore back at him in Italian, you know, disgraziato, ma che vuoi, you know. You wouldn't believe it, there was an Italian lady in the queue right behind me. And she said, excuse me, son, are you Italian? I said, yes. What does he want? He said, he wants to know how old you are. I said, tell him I'm only 16, and my uncle told me I only have to pay half the fare. So I got on, and I sat down, and then he was giving me dirty looks in the rearview mirror. Yeah. I can laugh about this today, but back then, let me tell you, it was a little disheartening. And I'm sure that perhaps many of you have lived a similar type of stories. So, as I said, we all started working. We saved the deposit and bought our first family home in Greenacre, the place to be, where we lived together as a family for quite a number of years, and then all the kids started sort of taking off and making their own lives. My passion for singing and music was evident from an early age when I still lived back in Italy. At the age of 6, I borrowed a guitar from a friend, and I started teaching myself how to play it. I used to go also and listen to the local band, as 4 boys in town, practice in their garage, and I used to act as the conductor of the band. So, the local band, the 4 boys from the neighbourhood, were actually organising a talent quest, open to all ages. Back then I was only 7, and they encouraged me to participate. It was my very, very first performance in front of an audience. I remember I was shaking, I was petrified, very, very nervous. I sang an old song from the 70s, and I went on to win first prize. Thank you. 41 years later, I still have the trophy. This is a very, very old trophy, but let me tell you, I received many accolades and many other trophies throughout my career in the last 32 years, but this is the one that I'm mostly proud of, and I wanted to bring it to show you tonight. They used to make them quite nice back then. See, it was 1972. Yes, yes. When I went home, my brother suggested that we fill it up with homemade wine and drink it. I was only 7. Don't worry, I could tell you some stories about my father's homemade wine. That's something else. Soon after the win, of course, I also inherited, like my uncle Francesco, I inherited the nickname of Il Cantante, in town. So I wasn't known as Antonio anymore, I was known as Il Cantante. Some days after the talent quest, the one and only, now this is a little funny story that involves my mum, a few days after the talent quest, the one and only music teacher in town, knowing that I'm somewhat musical, came around to the house to speak to my mum or to my dad. And the maestro, just standing ordinarily on the doorstep where my mum had opened the door, asked my mum if she would be prepared to send me to music lessons. Mind you, the lessons were free. They were being subsidised by the comune, the government, the local government, with the view to form a local brass band and then play in the local festas all around Calabria. My mum, of course, abruptly said, "Music does not put food on the table. Tony will go on to university, he will study to be a school teacher or a doctor," and slammed the door on the maestro's face. I was very disappointed, I was very heartbroken. I remember thinking, me, a school teacher or a doctor, how boring. I'll never do that. I want to be a singer, I'm going to be on television, I thought. I'm going to go to Sanremo, that's where I want to go. I'm going to meet Mina, the famous singer, and get married to her. That was what I was dreaming of, because I used to see her at Sanremo all the time. But it wasn't to be. In 1980, I came out to Australia and Mina married someone else. Didn't happen, not in this life. In 1982, I began performing as a singer for the Italian community here in Sydney when I landed my first singing job at the old Fontana di Trevi Function Centre at Bankstown. Remember that? The very first one. Slowly but confidently, I began the journey of a singer that took me not only here in Sydney to many, many places, but all around Australia and somewhat around the world, to places I had only dreamt of. I was honoured, for example, to perform for the Italians of New York, Boston, Montreal and Toronto, to name a few. Here at home, over the last 31 years, I was honoured to receive the applauses of Italians from every major Australian city on many, many occasions, as well as those migrants who settled in smaller towns like Stanthorpe in Queensland, Cairns, Innisfail, Silkwood, Ingham, Mildura in Victoria, Shepparton, Swan Hill, and the list goes on and on and on. I say with the utmost respect that Italians are like le formiche. They're everywhere, they're like ants. You find them everywhere. In one of my trips to America, and you, sir, would probably know what this is, I ended up in a little small town in Massachusetts called Springfield, near Boston. And when we arrived, it was on a Saturday afternoon, a very hot summer day. All I could see outside on the porches was just a few African-American people. And I thought, who are we going to sing to tonight? What sort of audience are we going to have? Well, that night in the local community hall, there was 450 screaming Italians. They're everywhere, I told you. But like ants, they are hardworking. Everywhere you go, believe me, all the migrants are pretty much the same. The migrants in Canada, I made a comparison, are very, very much the same as you you guys here. In America as well, second or third generation now. And all of them, of course, have greatly contributed to the development, the building of all of the countries that they chose to migrate to, be it, like I said, Australia, Canada, America, or any other part of the world. I feel honoured to have sung for some of them and to bring them back home with their thoughts, with their memories, to the old country, to the place where they were born, and to give them a touch of nostalgia, to make them laugh and sometimes even cry with some overwhelming emotions. I believe that each one of us has a purpose in life. I consider myself a very blessed person to have had this purpose. The good Lord blessed me with a little talent when I was born and made sure I'd use it for the happiness of others, and I gladly obliged. These days, let me tell you, one of the gigs I most enjoy, you're probably going to think it's some big place with 1,000 people. It's actually not. I enjoy going to sing at the Scalabrini villages for the elderly residents, the ones who can't go anywhere, the ones who are bound on a wheelchair or on a bed. And you know, there is no greater satisfaction than seeing the smile on their faces, to hear them sing along with me or to see them move their lips and clap their old hands. To particularly old classical songs that I made an effort to learn, especially for them, things like Terra Straniera, Il Tuo Mondo, Fiorin Fiorello, Luciano Tajoli, Claudio Villa. That's what they remember. And I went as far as 1920 in my research for Italian songs, old Italian songs, in order to be able to please them in every which way I can. It's been a great journey, but I must be honest, it wasn't always easy. Mine, like many other colleagues of mine, was a self-made career. We are not in Italy here, where the opportunity may arise, where a promoter might see you somewhere and might contract you to really sing at Sanremo like I wanted to, and then all of a sudden you become famous. No. I'm a self-made singer, I'm a self-made entertainer, I'm the manager, I'm the producer, I'm the salesman, I'm the public relation person. I have to be the all-rounder. No backup, no recording label that supports you, promotes you. Quite the contrary, at times some people shut the door and don't let you in, be it for professional jealousy or thirst of power or whatever other reason. But that's what makes me be even more proud of my achievements, small as they may be. Because as we would say in Italian, ce l'ho fatta e ce l'ho fatta da me. That's all. The journey, believe me, has been great so far. The remuneration and the glory just as good. But the most important thing to me, when at the end of a show, people from an audience actually come up and say, "Thank you, Tony, we had a great time tonight." It happened to me about 5 years ago. I was in Melbourne at the Reggio Calabria Club, and we did a night, we did the show. I finished and I was hanging around the stage just collecting my equipment, and a little old man with a walking stick and the typical Calabrese hat, you know, the jacket and a suit that looked like it had just come out of a Godfather movie, walked up to the stage and called me, "Excuse me, young man." I turned around and I thought, oh, here we go, that's a complaint. I turned around and said, "Yes, sir, how can I help you?" He said, "I've been in Australia 57 years. I said, "Oh, that's nice." He said, "And I've been to many shows and many nights and many club nights and so on, but I never had as much fun as I had tonight. Thank you and God bless you." If at the end of the night, management would have said to me, "Tony, I'm sorry, we didn't make enough money to pay you," I wouldn't have been unhappy. Well, maybe just a little bit. That was really great, a priceless satisfaction. basically, what kept me going has been this natural passion that I guess I was born with. As I said, I thank the good Lord for giving me the drive, the flame inside that is still to this day, after 32 years, burning, the enjoyment that I myself get from performing and seeing a smile on people's faces. I will continue to do this for as long as the good Lord wants me to. This is my story. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tony. The fire and flame you have inside, would you share something with us and play something live, possibly? Would you?
Now they're all going to know that we planned this.
No. Because what we're thinking is, because I was going to pass the mic around for a few questions after, but wouldn't it be nice to actually have him play a beautiful piece that he wrote called VK Bella Australia?
Sure.
But possibly sing it in both.
Little bit of both?
Entrambe.
Entrambe.
Un po' inglese e un po' italiano.
Un po' italiano, perché no? Yes, it will be my pleasure. Let me tell you, before I even start, I don't consider myself to be a great songwriter, but I did put together some little songs. One of them, and of course the one that Art was referring to, is Il mio cavallo di battaglia, if I can call it that, probably the one that really launched me, not only here in Australia, but around the world. As I was saying to you before, the migrants in Canada, in America, in any other part of the world, very, very similar, especially the ones in Canada. So basically, they see themselves in that tragic/funny reality of how they lived their life over there in Canada, the same way you guys did here, and the same way they perhaps did in America, and so on. That's how Vika Bella l'Australia came about. As I said, I'm not a great songwriter, but after a long period of time in contact with the Italian community, I have eyes. I saw, and I wrote. My name is Giuseppe, I come from Italy. I came to make a new life in this beautiful country. I work at the marchetta all day long, I sell the fish. I've been here 40 years, but I still no speak English. I got the big house, a double story and lots of concreto. I got the veggie patch where I planted the tomato. They pay me compensation from when I have the smash. I don't pay too much tax cause I like my money cash. Just ask any Italian how much cash they got sotto materazzo. I got 2 kids and a wife, it's a beautiful family. But I wasn't very happy, something happening to me. My younger daughter Maria, when she make 18 years, she don't marry the Italian boy, she ran away with the Chinese. Don't laugh, it could happen to you. I've been working all my life, I never take the holiday. I got a 5 house, 7 units in Bondi. My son, he say, be careful or you can get a heart attack. I say, shut up you stupid or I give you a big smack. You don't understand nothing, you gotta do like I've been doing all my life. You work hard, you save your money like my uncles told me. You never go on holidays, and when you die your kids take everything and say thank you very much. I remember when I was young, I used to be a gigolo, but now the capanosi doesn't work no more. Some of you got that problem? I think it's dead last night, said my wife. So I took 1 tablet and everything come back to life. You know Italians. They like to think they're gigolos even at 85. So we come to the end of the story of Giuseppe, eh? So now I'm 75, no more responsibility. I booked the aeroplane, I wanna go back to Italy. I was very happy, I'm gonna go to Rome. But they told me you're too old and I end up in a nursing home. It's called the Villaggio Scalabrini. But don't worry, you all will go there. You will not go there by yourself, your kids will take you there. And then if you're lucky, they will come and see you once a year to see if you got any money left over from the pension. Before they take you there, they will make you sign a paper. You will not be able to see what the paper is, and they will tell you it's una cartolina d'auguri pacumari. But instead it's the power of attorney for all your properties. They will take you there, and they will leave you there. But don't worry, as I said, they will come and see you. You see, what a good country, Australia. You came here when you were little, 20, 25, you worked hard, you paid tax, you didn't get the pension because you had too many property. Yeah, and then your kids take you to the Scalabrini Villaggio. Eh? Che bella l'Australia. Good country, Australia, eh? Good country for everybody else and not for us. Che bella l'Australia. Good country, Australia. Let's go back to Italy. Ah, no. I really didn't want to, but they asked me to bring some of the CDs with this song on it, just in case any of you want it. But by the way, once I'm here, I might as well give myself a plug, eh? Thank you. I wrote the very first one that you saw on the video, known in Calabrese or in dialect, Che bella l'Australia, and I had no idea it was going to be such a hit. I had no idea at all. Not only here, even in Canada, let me tell you, I sold on my little own 65,000 CDs just because of Che bella l'Australia. So I thought I better be marketing smart, and I wrote the second version, of course, which is called La vendetta dei genitori. This is where the parents turn around and say to the kids, hang on, what did we hear? You want to take us to the Scalabrini village? We are going to sell everything we own. We are going to go on holidays around the world and blow the money, and when we come back we can die, and then you know what you're going to get in the will? There. That's what you're going to get. We're gonna sell everything, the television, la macchina per l'erba, the lampadari, everything we're gonna sell, and we'll leave you this one. And that's the second version. Then the second version went down very well, then I wrote the third version. Well, unfortunately, then Giuseppe dies. It's called Il funerale di Giuseppe. But don't worry, it's a funny funeral, let me tell you. It's an Italian funeral, you know? Because what happened was when Giuseppe, the husband, died, of course, the wife wanted to make a cappella, you know, in the cemetery, you know? The cappella is minimum $200,000, you know? Granite, marble everywhere, you know, Malocco brothers make a lot of money, you know? And of course the children are complaining, Mom, 200,000, that's too much. So they try to convince the mother to you know, spend less. And they go from $200,000, they go to less, and even less, until they actually suggest that they put Giuseppe in a rubbish bag. One on the head and one on the feet. They wrap him up with a bit of sticky tape in the middle, and they put him sottoterra, underground, bello fresco. And every now and then a dog walks past them. Yeah. You know, but the mum, that's it. That's in the third version, Il funerale di Giuseppe. The mum is a smart woman. She's Italian. She said to the kids, you know what? Sure, your dad passed away, but I got the money. And until I die, you get nothing. And you're not gonna get your Ferrari now. You'll have to wait until I die. Yes, and that's how that one ended. But the motto in that song was actually also, there was a little message at the end where after Giuseppe died, the wife gave him a fantastic funeral, you know, the best of the best, with the band playing behind and everything. But unfortunately, Giuseppe couldn't take his money with him. So my message in that little song is, you've worked hard, you've achieved whatever you have achieved. Blow your money before you die. Don't leave it to your kids, because the more money you leave them, the quicker they'll take you to the nursing home. That's what's going to happen. All right. Thank you very much, Art. Back over to you.
Okay, thank you so much. So, I'm very, very lucky to have you here tonight. Fantastic. A great entertainer. I mean, not just a great songwriter and, of course, vocalist, but a great comedian. So I'm sure they just loved that song in Scalabrine Nursing Home.
They sure do.
Okay, thank you, everybody, and congratulations. And we just wanted to make this quick little presentation to Tony on behalf of all our members, for coming here tonight. And enjoy. Thank you.